overgrown it was hard to see unless you knew what you were looking for. A couple of days before, an old shepherd had shown the man the scar and told him a local legend about the ghosts of long-dead Roman soldiers coming out of a hole in the hillside and stealing sheep. The shepherd had scoffed at the tale, calling it a fairy tale to scare children, but he had found a hole that unwary sheep could fall into and blocked it with a large rock. The man moved to the side of the scar and located a rock that looked less weathered than the others. With much effort, he worked the rock loose and shoved it to one side. A cool draft of air from the dark hole chilled the man's sweat-stained face. "Ghosts," he said under his breath and laughed. As soon as his heart rate slowed, the man mopped the cooling sweat off his forehead and set to work hauling the piece of debris up the slope and into the hole. A final push saw the round object disappear into the dark. The man listened as it rolled away. When there was only silence, he wrestled the rock back into place. He scattered some dirt to make it look as if the rock had never moved, then sat down to recover his breath. When he felt better, the man went back to where he had found the object and kicked dirt and small rocks about to hide the mark where it had landed. He took a last look around and then hiked back over the hill to the next valley, where he had parked his small car on a disused dirt track. He glanced at his watch. The unexpected events of the morning had delayed him, and it was now mid-afternoon. He would have to hurry. He had a lot to do. Chapter 1. With hedge fund portfolio management, one has to keep up with evolving market strategies. It's not a simple matter of being aware of arbitrage mechanics and leveraging assets using derivatives. It's much more complex than that. I think that's what the guy in the next seat said, although mostly it sounded like blah, 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 blah. I gazed out the plane window, wishing I could open it, crawl out, and drop onto the snow-covered mountains below. At least that would be a quick end. Listening to this guy was death by boredom, one meaningless sentence at a time. Since he couldn't use his cell phone on the short flight from London to Barcelona, he had assumed that I would be riveted by his explanations of how he made vast amounts of money by, as far as I could tell, doing no work. My mind drifted back to the last time I'd looked down on the Pyrenees. That had been in the summer. Now it was Christmas Eve. Winter and the thick snow made the mountain peaks look like the stiff icing that Mom put on the Christmas cake. Thoughts of Mom made me feel guilty about not being with family at Christmas, but I got over it fast. Mom had been upset back in October when I had told her I'd been invited to spend Christmas with Laia and her family in Spain, but two things had happened to distract her. A week after I had announced my plans, I came home from school one afternoon and found Mom and her new friend Rod in the backyard, each balancing on one leg and waving their arms about. Mom had met Rod in September at Tai Chi classes. I hadn't paid much attention at first. I was too busy thinking about Laia and worrying about getting through the first semester of grade 12, but this was beginning to look serious. "What are they doing?" I asked my twin brother DJ as we stood staring out the kitchen window. "I think it's carry tiger and return to mountain." "What?" I asked, looking at him. DJ shrugged. "Or it might be step back and repulse monkey. I'm not too sure about all the posture names." "No, I mean, what's he doing here?" "Sorry," DJ said with a grin. "I thought you recognized Tai Chi." "Were you born annoying, bro?" I asked, "or did you have to practice?" My relationship with DJ had changed since our adventures last summer. His struggle up Kilimanjaro hadn't taught him humility, but it had given him a sense of life being more difficult than he had assumed it to be. "What do you think about the relationship between Mom and Rod?" I asked. "I'm not sure," he said thoughtfully. "She seems happier than she's been since Grandpa died, but—" His voice trailed off. "Yeah," I agreed, as Mom and Rod, in perfect unison, turned, drew their right feet across the grass, and swept their arms wide. "Stork spreads wings," DJ said. "But?"